And welcome once again to another episode of Stu Him Productions presents
J&M Solve the World. I am James.
And I am Matt. And tonight, as you noticed, oh wow, you still have a sip left in your shot glass.
Son of a bitch.
Fuck, some people's kids, man, I swear.
Buying books and you buying books.
I know, right? But you never take them to the Scholastic book fair.
Right.
Wow, where am I at here? Okay, come on, there we go.
Remember the book truck that used to come by in schools?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Dude, if you
get
showed
to go
up,
on and pick you out a book.
oh, fuck. If you showed up with $20, dude, you were fucking king of the book truck.
Fuck yeah. I think that's where I got green eggs and ham.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Tonight, we are going to talk about bands that had a member go solo and become more successful than they were with the band.
Or artists that started out in bands that went on to have tremendous solo careers.
Now, they have to have better album sales, not popularity. For instance, Ozzy Osbourne had more album sales than Black Sabbath after he left.
Right.
So, unlike Bret Michaels, who was more popular than Poison, but his album never really sold.
Right. Yeah, Ozzy's, I mean, that was whatever I was thinking about this last week. It was just one of them deals. I'm at work going, dude. It's like, this would be a good subject here.
Right.
And, of course, Ozzy's the first one that popped into my head because Black Sabbath was huge.
Oh, they were, I don't care what anybody says. Sabbath is the godfathers of heavy music.
Right. Yeah. I watched the video on YouTube the other day, and they were talking about Zakk Wylde was talking about who was basically the creators of heavy metal.
Right.
And it wasn't Sabbath. It was now I'm drawing a blank on who he thought it was, but Cream. Sunshine of Your Life. It was heaviest riffs. The riff that started metal. It's kind of like, okay, but
right.
Disagree down in the comments and everything, but But for us, Black Sabbath were the godfathers of heavy metal.
Right.
Even though the term heavy metal was used in a Steppenwolf song.
Yes.
Heavy metal thunder.
But
that was the first time that heavy metal had been used ever in a song.
Right. But of course they were talking about motorcycles.
Right.
And then of course you have Montrose with the song Heavy Metal, which was the theme for the movie. The animated movie
was that
Heavy
Montrose?
Metal. Yes.
It wasn't Sammy Hagar.
No.
So okay.
It was Montrose.
Okay. So that leads me to my second person, Sammy Hagar.
Right.
Started out in Montrose.
Right.
Personally, I never heard of Montrose before I heard of Sammy Hagar.
Right.
But like today on Sirius, we heard Rock Candy.
Right.
By Montrose. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. But what Sammy did was kind of unusual because he went from Montrose to the Red Rocker.
Yep.
I Can't Drive 55. Everybody's heard that song.
Right.
Whether you like Sammy Hagar or not, you've heard that fucking song. Mm-hmm. Then he joined probably the biggest rock act in Van Halen.
Yes.
And sold more albums than the original Van Halen did.
Right.
Then after that blew up with him and Eddie, he went back and still had a solo career. And now he's in two bands.
Yes. Chickenfoot with, I mean, now Chickenfoot can be considered a super group
Right.
with Joe Satriani, Michael Anthony, and Jason Bonham.
Right.
And then he's,
The Circle.
yeah.
And
and
I can't remember the guitar player's name, but it's still with Michael Anthony. Actually, yeah, Michael Anthony's been in the band from day one. But he's had 2 different guitar players, and one of them, and I can't remember her name, but she's got a heavy-set Native American-looking woman. Or did she play bass?
No, it had to have been guitar because Michael Anthony only plays bass.
Right. But I'm trying to remember if she played bass,
Yeah.
and then they brought Michael Anthony in later. Because anyway.
Anyways,
Anyway.
another artist that we really need to talk about got his big break with Rainbow, and then from Rainbow went to Black Sabbath.
Right.
He replaced Ozzy, and then he did a couple albums with Sabbath, and then he struck out on his own. And there was the big forefront of the way that Dio was written on the album covers. If you turned it upside down and you read it backwards, it spelled out devil. Then there's the whole who started the whole heavy metal horns.
Right.
Was it Dio or was it Gene Simmons? Dio says that his grandmother used to do it to put a hex on you.
Yeah, because she was an old Jewish lady. And
Yes.
It was
Yes.
like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Jewish or Italian?
Ronnie James Dio. I don't know.
God, I can't remember.
It was either Jewish or Italian one.
Yeah.
But then, Gene Simmons says, look at me on the cover of Destroyer.
Right.
They're coming over the rubble, and he's got the hands down.
Right.
And he's, doing that, which is more like the I love you.
Right. Exactly. And that's kind of going off on a tangent here, but everybody was talking about like Gene because he was the demon and he was, kids in Satan's service.
I've seen Gene just doing it like this a lot too.
Right. Where Dio had his thumb and his fingers pointed at you.
Right.
But they called Gene a fucking he was a big Satanist.
Oh yeah. That's what Kiss did for,
Oh yeah.
Kings in Satan's service.
Or kids in service.
In Satan's service. Yeah.
Unless you were in the army, and then it's keep it simple, stupid.
Right.
But let's see here. Which one is it? That one.
There you go.
Let's talk.
Let's talk about pop rock.
Okay.
Phil Collins.
Phil Collins, a member
of Genesis.
Genesis, yes.
I think he also done vocals with Genesis.
Yes, he did.
But then went out on his own and sold millions of fucking records.
Studio.
Yeah.
Whoa. And then, of course, the most famous, In the Air Tonight, you got Mike Tyson in The Hangover. Wait a second. This is my favorite part. And, and from Genesis, you also had, in the late 80s, Mike and the Mechanics.
Right.
Had
Michael
a big
McDonald.
hit.
Or
No, not Mike McDonald. It was, I can't remember his last name, but it was Mike and the Mechanics.
Right.
Of
course, one of the biggest stars in pop
music,
period, Michael Jackson.
the king of pop.
The Jackson 5.
Right. A, B, C. Easy as 1, 2, 3. I'm do, re, mi, A, B, C. 1, 2, 3. You and me. Yeah.
And he went we all know
God.
what the fuck happened there. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Thriller became the #1 selling album of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Beat It and Billie Jean and Thriller.
His first
one hit.
His first album was just what? Michael Jackson, wasn't it?
Off the Wall.
Off the Wall. That's
yeah,
right.
he had the close knit fro,
Mm-hmm.
and he still had the bigger nose.
That was the one with Billie Jean.
No.
No.
Do you remember? No. Oh fuck! I can't remember the song that was off there, but Billie Jean.
We're just going off of memory here.
Yeah,
and we're old, so.
And we've had a little bit to drink. We've played in heavy metal band, and we've been knocked around a time or two in the brain housing group. But
car accidents, IEDs,
motorcycle accident. But I remember the
accident.
Right. I remember the video because he's wearing a tux.
Uh-huh.
And it's dun dun. You know, it was very 70s disco-ish sound.
Right.
But then with Thriller, the album, you had the song Thriller with Vincent Price.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Beat It.
The king of horror.
Right. You had Beat It with Eddie Van Halen, who was not credited with playing I mean, he rearranged the whole song.
Because he didn't want... Because Eddie Van Halen didn't do a whole lot of work for other people, but you never heard about it because he didn't take any... He wasn't credited on any of the stuff that he done.
Well, and at the time, he didn't want to be attached to Michael Jackson while he's still trying to get his band off the ground.
Right.
You know, okay, so let's go a band from the 70s that had two breakout artists that gained huge popularity. The Eagles.
Yeah.
With Don Henley and Glenn Frey.
Right. Wasn't Joel Walsh in there too?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yes. Glenn Frey. Where the fuck did that come from? But Joe Walsh and Don Henley.
Right. Of course, the band of the 60s, you had the Beatles.
Yes.
And then Paul McCartney and Wings.
Yep.
So that was
Sir
Paul. That was and honestly, I think
Sir John Lennon.
To me, I liked a lot of the Wings stuff better than I did the Beatles stuff. I mean, I can't really say that because I go back at the time when I was a kid growing up, I was just so beaten down by hearing the Beatles all the time and stuff. You know, I'm like, fuck the Beatles. You know, I go back and listen to them now. And I go, man, that's some pretty good fucking shit.
Right, right. You know, you
Shout.
Right. You've got the band, the Yardbirds.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then from the Yardbirds, you got Cream.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eric Clapton broke out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Jeff
Beck. And then Jimmy Page. Went on to form Zeppelin.
Yep.
But then he had
not really a solo artist there.
No.
But goddamn. How many great musicians? I mean, you had 3 great guitar players come out of the Yardbirds.
Right.
It was like, really?
You know, but before...
It's like, what town in England were they all from?
But
what kind of water were they drinking?
At the same time, you know, Jeff Beck, he's known in the music community, but he wasn't known across the board like Eric Clapton.
Right.
Or Jimmy Page.
He probably didn't sell as many albums. I mean, Clapton, out of that 3, Clapton was the one that started in the band and had the huge solo career.
Yes.
You know.
Even when he redid a Cream song, Cocaine.
Uh-huh.
You know, he did a fucking...
That's what you think of. You don't think of the Cream version.
Right. Bob Marley. Yeah. You know, Eric Clapton covered Bob Marley. I shot the sheriff.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
But I did not shoot the deputy.
Right. You know, and nobody thinks of Page alone with Zeppelin. because you've got Bonzo and you've got Plant. You know,
I can't remember the bass player's name.
John Paul Jones.
John Paul Jones. That's it. Yep.
After Bonzo died, John Paul Jones went back to being a studio player.
Okay.
How many albums did he appear on that we don't know of?
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's like Glenn Campbell.
Right.
He was a studio musician, and his biggest...
You can't really say Glenn Campbell started out in a band.
No.
Because he was a studio musician who played with the likes of... yeah, I'm drawing a blank now. The old memory.
Yeah.
Beach Boys.
Right.
You know, from the Beach Boys to all these different country art, and then he started a solo career, and
right.
boom. I mean,
but if you look up,
if you want to YouTube some fucking cool shit, if you're a guitar player or a bass player, either one, if you appreciate the stringed instrument, go back and watch some Glenn Campbell and Roy Clark fucking shit.
Oh my God, them playing Beethoven's 12th overture on the same guitar at the same time. Glenn's got it over his shoulder and he's playing, and then Roy Clark comes up behind him and starts playing it as well.
William Tell overture.
Well, I'm sorry, William Tell overture.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. You said
Beethoven's. Yeah.
I'm like, the overture. Yeah, it's the William Tell overture. But and Glenn Campbell played the 12th string a lot.
Yeah, he did.
And he was doing all that fucking fancy picking and shit on a fucking 12 string.
You know, okay, let's look at, you know, not to take away from like Velvet Revolver or Audio Slave, because they were quote unquote super groups, or Hell Yeah. They were super groups.
Right.
They were made up of several bands, and they came together and they became even bigger than they were to a point. In my opinion...
But they were still a band.
Right.
It wasn't a solo gig.
Right. It wasn't
Vinnie
Paul and Hell Yeah, or Slash and Velvet Revolver, or Chris Cornell and Audio Slave. No.
Now Slash is one we could kind of put in the mix, because he had Slash
with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators.
Yeah, I mean, you could kind of put that in there. I don't think they didn't achieve more than Guns N' Roses, though. No. You know, of course, they played a lot of Guns N' Roses songs.
Right, but you know,
still, I mean, kind of a solo artist there. You know, I'm sure Slash got the bigger check.
Yes.
You know. You know, and you look in the rap world, NWA.
Oh yeah, I mean, you've got Ice Cube. He was the first one to break away, and his first like major hit. I mean, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, that was the first diss track ever, because NWA had called him a Benedict Arnold on like one line of a song, and then Ice Cube came back with the song No Vaseline, and he was naming everybody, and I mean, he was throwing it down, and he didn't give a fuck.
Dude, fucked him dry.
Oh yeah. With No Vaseline.
Right.
And then you had Dr. Dre, who, when he left NWA, he started Death Row Records with Suge Knight, and he discovered Snoop and Eminem, and he really brought Tupac onto the mainstream.
Dre had some big solo albums too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he had the Chronic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that big into rap. You know way more about it than I do, but I know who fucking Dr. Dre is. Right.
And after he left Death Row, he finally knocked off Death Row. He started Aftermath, and that was with God, I can't think of his fucking name.
Snoogie Boogies?
No, he was an old record executive with another label, and they started Aftermath and Interscope, and between the two of them, they started Beats.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they sold Beats to Disney for $3 billion. That's billion with a B.
That's why Beats cost so much.
But they're pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I've got a set of Beats and I fucking love them. But you know, Dre was more of a producer than an artist.
You talk about Ice-T.
Yeah, but Ice-T never really belonged to. Now that's
But this is the reverse.
Right.
T was a solo artist.
Right.
That started
Body Count.
Heavy metal band.
Right. That got the notoriety from the President of the United States with their song Cop Killer.
Right.
George H.W. Bush spoke about it, and, you know, they were...
And now T's been a cop on a popular television show for over 25 fucking years.
Damn near every movie that Ice-T, or television series that Ice-T has been in, he's played a cop.
Right.
And, yeah, and I mean, it's funny, and he sings about being a gangster and a pimp and a hustler and everything, but he was also part of the 25th Infantry Regiment in the United States Army.
Right.
Based in Hawaii.
To jump all over the page.
Yeah.
Fleetwood Mac.
Stevie Nicks.
Oh,
my God.
I mean, Fleetwood Mac in the 70s was as big as they could be. But then Stevie Nicks broke out on her own.
She had a hit and a one-time fling going on with Tom Petty.
Mm-hmm. I just seen a deal on Facebook. It was Stevie Nicks and Tom Petty, and Stop Dragging My Heart.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah. And that was done at Sound City in Los Angeles, where so many bands recorded albums that went fucking multi-platinum. Nirvana's. I mean, okay, you know, you could kind of talk about Dave Grohl going solo because the first Foo Fighters album was him playing everything.
Right.
But at the same time, you could also talk about the first Mammoth WVH album because Wolfgang played every instrument. And he went from Van Halen to Mammoth playing everything on the album, writing and playing.
Right. Well, that's still to be determined on how big Mammoth is going to be.
Right. Not as big as Van Halen when it came out, but it was like...
Yet, but I mean, that's still, they're relatively new.
Yes.
That's yet to be determined on, are we going to look back in 20 years at Wolfgang and say, fuck, he was as good as his dad, or whatever, or he sold as many records as his dad. Probably not going to sell as many records because record sales don't count for shit anymore.
Right.
People don't buy records anymore.
But Dave Grohl is a two-time Hall of Fame inductee with Nirvana and the Foo Fighters.
Okay, that's
Ozzy.
You're getting a little bit off because that's still two bands,
right?
Technically,
right.
But yeah,
Ozzy will this year, 2024, will be a two-time inductee into the Hall of Fame because he's going in.
And
he went in as Black Sabbath, and he's going in as solo.
So there you go. Ozzy's the king of the going from band to solo.
Right.
Unlike Vince Neil.
Right. Let's see here, and it's...
And don't get me wrong, the first Vince Neil solo album, I liked it.
You can come, but your friends... your friends are invited.
You're invited, but your friends can't come, or something like that.
And Pauly Shore was part of the video.
Yeah.
I do remember that part.
But, that album was fine.
Yeah.
And it was the same time that Motley released their self-titled album
with
Gary Sharon.
John Corabi.
John Corabi, yeah.
Yeah. Gary Strone sang for Van Halen after Sammy Hagar left.
That's right.
Van Halen 3.
Yeah, but and the Vince Neil record sounded more like a Motley record than the Motley record did because to me, Motley is Vince's voice.
Right. In the studio.
In the studio, not live on stage, because he has to take a breath in between each word.
Oh, yeah. Kick, start.
No,
And the bad habits.
No, it's kickstart.
Oh, yeah. Letting the crowd do it.
Yeah. It's like, dude, I paid X amount of dollars to hear you sing. I don't want to sing.
Right.
I mean, a little bit of that's okay.
Right.
You know, like when Hatfield's like, hey.
Or AC/DC. You know?
Yeah.
Oi.
Yeah. But when you start singing, I want to hear you fucking sing the motherfucker.
Right. I'm
and
paying to see you sing it.
And we'll sing along with you.
Right. Or I'll sing in my car.
Right.
Now, opposite that, you've got the band Damn Yankees, which had Ted Nugent, who had Jack Blades from Night Ranger. You had Tommy Shaw from Styx, and then a no-name drummer?
I don't remember
who
the drummer was.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like and Tommy Shaw.
He was a late addition to Styx, but
I think he had a little bit of a solo career, didn't he?
he did, as well as Jack Blades. And, I mean, Ted Nugent coming from Amboy Dukes. You know, but if you want to go that far, Hendrix.
I wouldn't say Amboy Dukes was a real famous band, because we're talking about artists that came from famous bands.
Right.
Or successful bands that went on to successful, careers.
Saying that careers. Ted Nugent from Amboy Dukes overshadowed as a solo artist is like saying that Jimi Hendrix, coming from Little Richard's band, overshadowed Hendrix or overshadowed Little Richard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that Jimi Hendrix played in Little Richard's band.
Right.
I don't know how long of a period of time it was.
Well, it was...
That was a little before my time.
It was, right. But it was...
And I probably seen him performing with Little Richard on some old midnight special or some shit,
When Little Richard was touring Tennessee and Kentucky, and it was a big deal having a gay, black, like flamboyant gay man. And...
But nobody... Okay, he was.
Yes.
But it wasn't known.
Right.
Kind of like Sir Elton John.
Right.
Whenever Sir Elton John come out, everybody's like, oh, yeah, I see it now.
Or Freddie Mercury.
Or Freddie Mercury, yeah.
Or fucking Rob Halford.
Right.
But Hendrix played on the weekends when he wasn't on duty with the 101st Airborne Division out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Much like the Isley Brothers were Marines stationed at Camp Pendleton. And when they first got to their unit, nobody believed him until a limo pulled up on Friday, took them to gigs, and then brought them back early Monday morning for them to do their Marine stuff.
It was a good deal that they had PT that weekend.
Yeah. But, it's, okay, pop music. Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
Justin Timberlake.
Okay, yeah.
That guy is fucking huge.
Right.
He's been on so many different albums as a guest. His movie career, his fucking Saturday Night Live stand-up, his Saturday Night Live skits with Jimmy Fallon.
Dick in a box.
Oh, yeah. With guys from Lonely Island.
Yeah.
But You know,
Marky Mark. He was in.
the Funky Bunch. Well, it was Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Wasn't he in one of the other boy bands before that?
No, you're thinking his brother Donnie.
Oh, that's right.
Donnie was in New Kids on the Block.
New Kids, that's right.
And then
right.
he took on an acting career.
Right.
And he was in Band of Brothers and Blue Bloods.
Right. We can go off of music.
Okay.
A guy who started out as a team, Cheech and Chong.
Ooh. Okay.
And Cheech Marin went on to become a huge success in a movie career as a solo.
Right.
You know.
And they started as a musical act in Canada.
Yeah. They were kind of in a like a Saturday Night Live kind of improv group.
Yeah.
Type deal.
Yeah.
In Canada. Yeah.
Exactly. You know.
But I mean, you look at Cheech and Chong, you know, you talk about comedy duos, Laurel and Hardy, fucking Martin and Lewis, and Cheech and Chong.
Mm-hmm.
But then they had some bad blood about something or whatever, and Cheech said, I'm going to go. I mean, Dust Till Dawn, he played 3 fucking characters.
Right. And then on Nash Bridges was the first time you saw Cheech without a mustache.
Right.
Because he had shaved his mustache. But he had also done East of L.A.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Born in East L.A.
Yeah, Born in East L.A. Yeah. And then another Shrimp on the Barbie.
Uh-huh.
And then he did Nash Bridges with Don Johnson, and he had shaved his mustache, and it was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this guy?
My mama talking to me, trying to tell me how to live.
Beaners will kick you in the face. Beaners.
We probably technically can't say that, but oh well.
That's the lyrics to the song.
That's the lyrics to the song.
I didn't drop the N-word.
That's right.
When I was talking about Cube or fucking Dre.
Right.
You know, and
there's so many more out there that some that we've talked about in the last day or so, and we're forgetting right now.
You know,
Rob
Halford had a couple of bands after he left Priest, but they were never as big as Priest.
Yeah.
You know,
it wasn't really a Rob Halford solo thing,
right?
You know, I mean, he started at the bands,
right? And then the band Halford just really didn't take off.
Yeah. You know, and you can go back to the Beatles and talk about George Harrison and
Ringo Starr.
And Ringo, you know, they had solo
Ringo and
stuff,
the All Stars,
but they never really.
No.
You know. Of course, how are you going to leave the Beatles and become bigger than the Beatles, except for maybe Sir Paul?
Yeah.
You know, John Lennon might have if he'd hadn't got murdered.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and he had kind of went down that weird slope with Yoko, and you know, it was just kind of like, what?
Yeah.
You know, Don Henley had a couple of hits off that album.
Don Henley sold a lot of records.
Yeah, he did.
He sold a lot of records. I mean,
you know, but
you know, like we said, Glenn Frey.
Yeah.
Had a good solo career. Lou Gramm.
Yeah.
From Foreigner.
Yeah.
He went on to have a pretty good solo career.
As much as I hate to say it, Lou Reed.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't like his music, but he was fucking huge.
Yeah.
In his own right.
Annie Lennox.
Annie Lennox and the Eurythmics.
From the Eurythmics.
The Eurythmics. Fuck.
Yeah, she had a pretty good solo career.
Rob Zombie and White Zombie.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, Rob. In fact, Rob Zombie's probably, outshined White Zombie.
Well, I think it's because...
As far as record sales and,
right.
and longevity.
I think it's because of the longevity.
Because you basically had 2 studio albums from White Zombie.
3 total. You had
studio albums. You had
Yeah.
Los Citrus Sisto, Devil Music Volume 1.
Yep. Astro Creep 2000
Astro Creep 2000, yes.
and Super Sexy Swingin' Sounds. It was an EP.
But those were mostly cover songs, though.
Right. It was an EP, but there was a self-titled.
It was a full record.
It was considered an EP because
of the original songs that was on it.
Right.
Because I think there was 10 or 12. I've got the CD.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like remixes of a lot
Yeah.
of the original stuff, and then some cover songs like "I'm Your Boogeyman"
Right.
was on there.
From the Bay City Rollers.
No.
Sly and the Family Stone.
No.
Casey and the Sunshine
Casey
Band.
and the Sunshine Band.
I was going to get it.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
One I just thought of a while ago. The Commodores.
Ooh, and Lionel Richie.
Lionel Richie went on to become a huge fucking solo star.
Yeah, I did. Hello, is it me you're looking for?
I always like Dancing on the Ceiling. I like that video.
Yeah. Well, what I like about Hello, the video, it for me, it touched me because the woman that he was quote unquote chasing in the video was actually blind. And she sculpted his face off of memory. Bruce Dickinson had, when he left Maiden, he had his first album, Tattooed Millionaire. It had a decent hit on it.
Right. I don't think he outdone Maiden.
No.
But had a good solo career.
Right.
Yeah.
But then, it's like, okay, a band that replaces a singer and you only know that quote unquote replacement singer, and then you hear the original stuff with the original singer and it's like, or you hear stuff with a new singer and it's kind of like,
Right. Kind of like Maiden, because
right.
we never really heard the early stuff before Bruce.
I'm not a fan of the Paul Di'Anno vocals. I love the music, especially when Maiden has done it.
Right.
Just like with Anthrax, I'm not a fan of the stuff with Neil Turbin because Joey is what I knew.
Right.
But when John Bush joined the band, it's like they got heavier.
Right.
And it was a different sound. And when Joey came back in, it was like kind of like you found your whoopee from a kid.
Right.
And you're like, oh my God, this is so amazing.
And the fact that when we went and seen them in Kansas City a couple of years ago and they played one only from the John Bush era, I was like,
oh yeah, Sound of White
cool.
Noise.
Yeah.
Oh fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
You can't really count Zakk Wylde because of Pride and Glory or Black Label Society when he left.
Those are bands.
Right. Even Zach Sabbath, I'm not going to call it a parody band, but it is definitely a cover band.
Right. Yeah, they're covering
Black Sabbath
songs.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've never heard them play anything from the Dio, the Ian Gillan eras or anything like that. It's all from the Ozzy eras.
Well, it's because Father Oz probably wouldn't allow
Yeah.
it.
Right.
I'm trying to think. I can't remember the guy's name. I remember the video.
David Lee Roth's solo career.
He had a good solo career.
Yeah, he did. Eat 'Em and Smile was great.
Yankee Rose and
oh yeah, I mean it had some California Girls.
And then his second album, he had
Paradise. Just like Paradise.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, he had Stevie Vai on guitar.
Right, and Billy Sheehan on bass.
And it was kind of a super group, but it was But it was David Lee Roth. It wasn't
exactly.
Yeah. It wasn't Pussy Excrement or something with David Lee Roth. It was. I don't know.
Damn.
Yeah, I've had a couple of drinks.
He may have called his band that if it
He may have.
would have went over.
Because that's when he got into wearing just a thong on stage with body paint, doing spin kicks and shit.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, we don't need to see that much of you.
Give me a glazed donut. To go. Yeah. The Eat 'em and Smile video. It's
I forgot about David Lee Roth, but yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't think he was ever big as Van Halen.
No.
But it was pretty fucking popular.
Right. And I will say this. Eat 'em and Smile kind of overshadowed 5150. Even though there's a lot of hits on 5150, but it's like you didn't hear really of anything until OU812.
Mm-hmm. But you go back and listen to 5150 again, and you're like, fuck me.
Right.
I mean,
and you listen to Eat 'em and Smile, and it's like, what is this, an EP?
It's like Yankee Rose is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
What?
Wow. Well, love me rode up on the sidewalk and take a look.
Yes.
Whoa. She's beautiful. Wow. I'm talking about a Yankee Rose. And you had...
if you want to look at the bands that Steve Vai was in, of course, he was a solo artist first.
Well, he was in Alcatraz.
Mm-hmm.
And then Frank Zappa.
Mm-hmm.
And then DLR.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went solo. And then
he had that one video.
Whitesnake.
He had the one video on MTV. I remember because there was that little boy.
Yep.
That was playing young Stevie Vai.
God, what is his name? Because he was in a band, Bad for Good, with Danny Coxey.
Yes.
Who was in the movie Terminator 2.
Mm-hmm.
And God, I can't think of that kid's name. But
I'm trying to think of the name of the song. It was an instrumental.
Yeah. The audience is listening.
That's it. Yep.
Bad for Good did one album, and that was it.
Right.
But it was kind of like...
I think I had that tape.
Oh, dude. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Because Danny Coxey, you only knew him from the redhead kid from Terminator 2.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But they sounded like a fucking band.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you didn't know they were kids if you just listened to the record.
No.
They had a couple videos on MTV at the time. And
yeah. And, I mean, the guitar player, he looked like a young Steve Vai.
Right.
All the different belts and the chains on the boots and the tight pants and playing the Ibanez Gem guitars. Yep. But okay. Oh shit. The Runaways. Joan Jett and Lita Ford.
Heck yeah.
Joan she is like she has been steady on that edge of rock and roll.
I remember probably my 9th or 10th grade year in high school, and Joan Jett came to Springfield, played at JQH, or not JQH, but it was Hammond Center back then.
Yeah.
Where the Bears used to play basketball and everything.
Right.
Fucking next day in school, like half the school was wearing Joan Jett fucking shirts.
Right.
That had been to that fucking concert.
Right.
And then, of course, Lita Ford, I mean.
Kiss Me Deadly. And then the huge hit with Ozzy.
Close My Eyes Forever.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Now, one of the songs that
Lita,
I really...
Lita's still out there.
Well, she's back out there.
She's back out there. She's been
the last
back.
couple of years.
It's been... I want to say we seen her in 2018, 2019 at the Galois with Hailstorm.
The last couple of years.
Okay.
try not to date us too much. But she released a song.
Her kids grew up and they're like, "Mom, we've never seen you perform," because I watched her on that metal show.
Yeah.
And she was on there, and she had just started back out on the road. And she's like, "My kids have never seen me perform."
Right.
So, I took all this time, took like 15 years off to raise her kids.
And it was a very
good mama there,
right?
know.
And it was a very abusive relationship with her and her ex-husband,
Gillette.
Yeah, Jim Gillette for the band Nitro.
Yeah.
But she did a version of Alice Cooper's "Only Women Bleed."
Oh yeah.
And I tell you what, with a woman singing that song, it's like holy shit. To carry on that itself, Loretta Lynn singing "Hello, Darlin'," made famous by Conway Twitty. But you're hearing it from the female point of view.
Right,
and it's like,
right.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
You know, let's, I mean, there's been so many, there's been a lot of artists that have broken away from their groups, but they never got as big. Stephen Pearcy, Jack Russell's Great White.
Russell's Great White. Rest in peace, because he just passed away here not too long ago. Sebastian Bach.
Jeff Tate.
Yeah.
Steve Perry. Stephen Perry. Oh, Steve Perry.
Journey singer?
Yeah.
He kind of had didn't he have a mental break?
He did, but he also released a couple of songs. He released a couple of solo songs that were pretty big hits back in the day, back in the 80s.
Right.
But then he like really died off. But then again, I mean, honestly, when was the last time you heard anything from Journey that wasn't "Don't Stop Believing" or, you know,
the old stuff?
Yeah, the old stuff.
Well, it's kind of like they say when you go to a classic rock concert, you don't want to hear these words. Here's one off our new album.
Right.
Unless you go into a Metallica show.
Oh, my God.
And people are still excited to hear shit off the new album, you know.
Because let me tell you, the one song I was looking forward to when we went and seen them last November.
Lux Eterna.
Yeah. And they did not fucking disappoint.
Right.
Did they play songs that I'd never heard live? Yes. Out of the multiple times that I'd seen Metallica.
Some of them were old songs that they hadn't played in years.
God.
Or if ever.
Yeah, there was one. God, I can't think of it.
I know what you're talking about. And
there was one song that they had only played on that tour for that album, and they'd never played it since.
Right.
And I'm wanting to say it was like off of Lightning or Puppets, and they just never played it. And you and I have realized how hard it is to go back and remember music that you wrote 20 plus years ago.
Right.
We have one album.
Right.
Metallica has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 plus albums.
Studio albums. Yeah.
And now you're having to go back and you're having to relearn something that you haven't played like
since 84.
Yeah. I want you to learn "Trapped Under Ice."
Right. That might have been the song.
Or because I know it wasn't until Rob joined the band.
I think it was "Trapped Under Ice." If I now that you said that, it's like
no. The song I'm thinking about, they played it on some kind of monster. No. Oh, fuck. The concert video movie that they put out
Oh,
had them playing, and then it had a kid chasing down all this shit.
right.
And Orion.
Orion.
That was the first time they'd played Orion live since Cliff.
Since Cliff had passed, yeah.
Right.
Because he's got the whole...
Yeah, the whole...
line
The wah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more bass to that song than a lot of people believe.
Mm-hmm.
Or a lot of people remember.
A lot of people thought it was a guitar.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You know, there's we mentioned Velvet Revolver earlier. Now that was Matt Sorum, Duff McKagan, and Slash from Guns N' Roses,
Right.
and Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots.
Right.
And looking back on it, I think that was Rob Caggiano.
On drums?
No,
Oh.
rhythm guitar.
Oh, okay.
Because he went and he ended up joining Anthrax, and then he joined Volbeat.
Mm.
Because, and the only reason why I say that is because Rob wore a beanie. He had a beard and he wore a beanie. Even way back then.
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong. Fuck, I don't know. I never claimed to be a historian.
In the words of Billy Joel, I may be wrong, but I may be right.
Yeah.
Was Billy Joel ever in a band? I don't think so, was he?
Yeah, he was. When he initially got signed, they were a band. And I forget the actual name of the band. But when he was signed as Billy Joel. And the band that was there became the backup band.
To totally go off subject, did you see his last Madison Square Garden performance?
No.
Dude, I'm a metalhead, but that show was fucking awesome.
Oh,
I mean,
you know, I am...
he's like going, well, this next song I'm going to play is, the older I get, these notes are harder to hit, but I'm going to try my best. Fuck you, asshole. He hit him.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, okay. You think of Priest out on tour right now. And they've got all their classics that they have to play. But they're in the set list a certain way.
Right.
Because...
So Rob could get his voice warmed up.
Right. And then
hit those, and then... kind of calm it back down
right
after he's thrashed his throat a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's never
Makes
done
sense.
Right. He never did the honey tea or anything like that to save his vocals. Bruce Dickinson never did anything like that. Freddie Mercury never did anything like that.
What was that Dave Mustaine was talking about? Something in Lay's potato chips.
Yes, it's the extra oil in the Lay's potato chips would coat his vocal cords.
Right. But then he found some other herb thing from Japan and stuff that he switched to recently.
Right.
You know. But he said, yeah, my trick back in the day was Lay's potato chips.
Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top to get that classic sound for LaGrange. Exactly. They were recording in the winter, and it was cold as shit. He took his shirt off, ran around the block of the studio like 5 times, and as soon as he came back in, he went right into the vocal studio and laid down those vocals. And yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, and that's what surprises me about ZZ Top is, yeah, Billy F. Gibbons is known in the music industry, and he's been a lot of places, But as far as ZZ Top goes, they have never been on solo projects. You've never heard of the Dusty Hill Project or the Frank Beard Experience or anything like that.
Billy's, he's I don't know, did you say it was a solo career, but he's branched out into some movies and some TV shows and stuff. He was on Bones.
Mm-hmm.
He played, I can't remember the name of the girl now. She was one of the girls that worked there.
Yeah.
He played her dad.
Right.
Whenever one of the other scientist guys was wanting to marry her and everything, he had to meet her dad, and it was Billy fucking Gibbons.
Right. And he's played himself a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, shit. I just thought about this. The Police with Sting.
That's a good one. Yeah. Because the Police was big as shit in the 70s.
And the 80s.
Yeah. And then Sting. Bam. Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's just, there's so many artists that get their start in a band, and then there's some that will go on and have a bigger career as a solo artist, but then there's some that get too big for their britches and they branch off to do a solo career, and it does nothing. Because they think they're bigger than the band itself.
Right. And, we was talking earlier about Ozzy.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, the best example of starting in a big band that's huge and then having a huge fucking solo career.
Starting completely over from scratch.
If it had been up to Ozzy, his solo career would have been a band called The Blizzard of Oz.
Correct.
But his manager wife said, Ozzy? No. This is Ozzy Osbourne. You can call your first record The Blizzard of Oz. Hence the Ozzy solo career.
Right. And, and with doing that, looking back on it, with doing that, you can interchange your players.
Right.
But it's still Ozzy Osbourne. Guns N' Roses, Chinese Democracy.
Yeah.
Wasn't anything without Slash.
Right.
Duff.
Right.
Every album without Slash, Duff, Izzy.
Okay, let me ask you a question. I know you're not a country fan or a big country fan or anything. Can you name me any member of Garth Brooks' band from 1991?
No.
Because it was Garth Brooks.
Right.
Those guys were interchangeable.
Right. It's like
we're gonna pay you well, but if you don't like what you're making, you can leave because there's 1,000 guys waiting to fill your place.
And if you hadn't watched the documentary Hired Gun, would you have ever known that Jason Hook, who later became a member of Five Finger Death Punch, played for Miley Cyrus?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
can see it.
The Zac Brown Band.
Yeah.
Can you name anybody other than Zac Brown?
No.
Brooks and Dunn.
Who the fuck is a Brooks and Dunn anyway? Or what the fuck is a Brooks and Dunn anyway?
Big and Rich.
One of them's big and one of them's rich, apparently.
Big Kenny and Rich. God, I can't think of his name. But he was doing like the country version of The Voice for a while.
I'm sure there's some people out there watching going, God damn it, I knew everybody in the Garth Brooks band. There was like Billy Joe Jim Bob Jr. on guitar and Stephen A. Jim Bob Jr. on the bass. And I'm just kidding.
It was a little different with like Kiss.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was
Gene, Paul, Ace, and Peter.
Right. Well, and even even in the 80s, I knew everybody, like Motley Crue.
Right.
It was Vince and Tommy and Mick
And Nikki.
Right. But
Ozzy's band
and
changed.
Great White, I knew Jack Russell, I knew Mark Kendall.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Nick Lardy. He was a rhythm guitar player, but it kind of started.
Tesla. You had Jeff Keith. You had Frank Hannon. You had Tommy Steele. You had Troy Luckett. And
So that's way more than I ever knew.
God.
One of the best concerts I seen back in the 80s was Great White and Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Down at Swiss Villa Amphitheater. I think it's Black Oak or whatever the fuck. It's down at Lampe, Missouri.
Yeah.
Still there. I don't know what name it's called now.
Yeah. I mean, now, it's no surprise that James and I know the members of Pantera.
No.
The original members, Terrence Lee, who went on to form a band called Lord Tracy.
Yep.
But you had Rex Rocker Brown, you had Vincent Paul, and you had Diamond Darrell, which became Dimebag.
He was still Diamond Darrell on Cowboys from Hell.
Yes, he was. With Power Metal and Cowboys, it was Phil Anselmo. And then with Vulgar On, it was Philip Anselmo.
Same guy.
Oh, yeah.
For those who don't know.
And regardless of what anybody wants to try to think, Phil was not a racist. Dime was not a racist. He was just proud to be a Texan and being from the South. And that's why he had the Confederate battle flag, or better known as a rebel flag.
Mm-hmm. On one of his guitars.
No, he had it on a couple.
Yeah. But I mean, he was known for the dime bolt.
Right. Right.
I mean, I think that was
the Dean from Hell.
The Dean from Hell.
Right.
The blue and black guitar with the lightning bolts on it.
Yep. But you know what? I think we have went on and on about enough.
We've missed a lot.
Oh, I'm sure we have.
I'm sure we have missed a lot. If you know somebody that we have missed, please put it down in the comments. Say, hey, what about this guy or this girl or whatever? Let us know, because we're just going off the top of our head here. We didn't, it was an idea, and we didn't. It's like, hey, what about this? Da, 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 da.
Yeah, we didn't do any research.
We didn't do the Google search thing, and we're not going to do it live on the air as we record.
No.
But
if you have a subject that you would like,
Peter Gabriel, I think was another one.
Yeah,
I can't remember the band he was in. I just thought of that.
Simon
and Garfunkel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. Come to fuck you again, or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember.
I like the Disturbed version better.
Yeah. But if there's a subject that you would like us to talk about, leave us a comment, and we ask that you like, share, and subscribe to not only our YouTube channel, but also our Spotify channel, because those are the two channels that we actually get feedback from.
Right.
Now, if you're a fan of us on Apple Podcast or anywhere else you get your podcast,
Amazon Pod,
we appreciate it.
Yep.
But our analyticals are tracked by Spotify and YouTube. You can find us at J&M Solve the World on YouTube or J&M Solve the World on Spotify. You can find James on the Book of Face at James Wesley Stewart. You can find me on Facebook under Matt Hembree. That's Hembree.
Just make sure you find that face.
Yes. this face with a very beautiful young lady that is my daughter. But
remember, on your topics, we try to stay away from religion and
politics. And sex.
Oh, we say fuck all the time.
Right, but we don't get into the straight versus gay,
right.
lesbian, trans, blah, 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 blah.
If you go back into our archives, you can find one that we done on abortion.
Yes.
So go back and look at that. And we had 2 young men on that podcast with us to get their opinions too. It was just an opinion-based deal. It wasn't.
Hell, we did a podcast on what type of underwear we wear.
Goddamn, we did, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. But
and I still haven't got a check from Duluth Trading, motherfuckers.
I haven't gotten a check from Shine Esty.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm still paying for their monthly subscription.
Oh, I don't have a monthly subscription with Duluth. I just order what I want when I want it.
I kind of like the ball hammock.
I do too. I can get them from Duluth.
Yeah.
They're called the bullpen underwear.
Anyways, you have just watched another episode of Stu Him Productions Presents
J&M Solve the World. I have been James.
And I've been Matt. And until next time, you keep one fist in the gold, one foot in the gutter, and we will be seeing you.
Peace.